What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Johnny Says So, and we are doing this one live because we have some breaking news tonight. Unfortunately, it seems Donald Trump has completely abandoned his non-interventionist ways, and he's done what many people have feared and suspected he was going to do all along, and that is back Israel in their targeted strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, this comes as a pretty big contradiction against what he ran on, obviously being, I'm going to be the anti-war president, you're going to see no more wars, we're going to avoid World War III, and that all sounded well and good, and I think that's the big reason why he won all 7 swing states, why he had prominent Democrats like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard cross the floor, and you're really seeing like a really big split in the MAGA world because of this. You have Tucker Carlson openly criticizing Donald Trump. You have people like Alex Jones criticizing him. You've got comedian Dave Smith obviously doing a great job breaking down, this whole situation with Iran and how Donald Trump has just completely caved to Israel, and now the United States will be doing their bidding going forward. Now, Donald Trump is about to address the nation, so I'm trying to keep my eye on the time as well. So, no, it looks like they are still waiting for him to take the podium here. Let's check in here.
Donald Trump to share more information in an address from the White House about the news that the U.S. has attacked Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump saying the U.S. bombed Fordo and other nuclear sites in Iran. This is BBC.
Here we go.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Margaret Brennan in Washington. We have breaking news out of the Middle East. President Trump is about to address the nation. Roughly 2 hours ago, he announced via social media that the United States has bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran. CBS is reporting 6 B-2 stealth fighters dropped 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs on at least one of those sites, the very first time that weapon has been used in combat. Today, it was to destroy an underground nuclear facility about 60 miles southeast of Tehran. The president said that all American planes are safely now out of Iranian airspace. These American strikes are in support of a war that Israel launched on Iran 9 days ago. We know tonight that the Israeli prime minister has spoken to the president, thanked him, and congratulated him on the strikes. We are awaiting word now from the President of the United States himself, who is expected to address the nation from the White House. As we await him taking the podium, I want to go to our White House correspondent, Weijia Jiang. Weijia, we know that the president returned to the White House in the 5 o'clock hour, around 6 p.m. He had a national security briefing. What do we know about what was going on at that period of time?
Margaret, that's right. He was in his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, but came back this evening, which was actually always the plan, even when he took off for that trip. And right beforehand, he said that Iran had at maximum 2 weeks to try to reach a diplomatic deal. There was no indication at that time that he was going to follow through with the strikes. But of course, that quickly changed.
We see the president now.
The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
The bully of the Middle East, says the president who is continuing the Project for a New American Century's hit list, of which Iran is the final piece of the puzzle. They've gotten 7 out of 7 now. If they succeed with regime change here, they will have toppled 7 governments. But yes, Iran is the bully of the Middle East. Not trying to stick up for Iran, by the way, guys, but just calling it like I see it.
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days.
Also tragedy for America when they get themselves into another disastrous war in the Middle East. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's so. I also want to.
President of the United States walking away from the.
And that's it. That's all Donald Trump has to say tonight. Well, we're going to obviously see more of this as it unfolds. I'd like to see some footage at some point. So this was the post that sparked all of this off for me. We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of an Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs, all capital letters, was dropped on the primary site. Fordow, all planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. God, it's so Orwellian. He literally does the Orwell thing. Now is the time for peace. After you bomb another country for the first time. Now, this is 7 out of 7 on the list that General Wesley Clark laid forward in the Project for a New American Century. And this all started even before the Bush administration. This plan was always on the table to take out Iran, Iraq, Libya, Syria. Like, this is the final one, guys. And this is going to completely split Donald Trump's base for the worse. And the next 2 days are going to be very interesting when it comes down to who has principles and who doesn't, who's a non-interventionist and who is not. Now, Tucker Carlson, to his credit, has been speaking out against this, and I know Trump alleges that Tucker called to apologize, but I don't know about that. I'm pressing X to doubt on this one. Now, Donald Trump roasted Tucker Carlson about this by trying to say, I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen. Are you kidding me, dude? Tucker Carlson lost his show practically defending you. Like, what a dickhead, man. He's completely turning his back on all of the people that supported him and all of the people that got him to the position that he is in. Like, I can't, like, he wasn't saying this when he needed to go on podcasts. You did Tucker Carlson's show, dude. This is absolutely unreal. And Tucker Carlson knocked it out of the park the other day with Ted Cruz. So I want to take a look at some of that.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's, it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even... You don't know anything.
He wouldn't be able to even get into the difference between a Sunni and a Shiite Muslim. He has zero understanding of the region and the implications that the war in Iraq has caused. And never mind the war in Iraq, but all of the funding that they were doing with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan in the 1970s. Like, American foreign policy has just completely crippled the region. And Ted Cruz clearly doesn't understand any of that.
About Iran. So
okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
claims, know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump?
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel. High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
So obviously that's an old clip. That's from a couple of days ago. But as we can see tonight, the United States absolutely is bombing Iran. Let's get back to the live coverage of it right now.
Has entered this conflict in this way, that may change. And I've no doubt that there is a bracing for what could be coming next. I spoke to some diplomats in the region just within the past hour, and I was told there wasn't much of a heads up given to some of our allies there. Just to remind people, Charlie spoke about 40,000 U.S. military personnel in that region of the world. The fourth largest military installation America has in the world is in Kuwait. Very close there to Iran, very significant naval assets in Bahrain, a lot of American families stationed there. So it's not just Israel, it is the surrounding.
And that's a good point. Those military service members that are stationed all around that region are going to be sitting ducks. Like, this is a bad, bad escalation to the situation. And Donald Trump can no longer pretend to be a non-interventionist. It's just sickening.
I also just want to acknowledge here that while the president has been saying this was a successful strike, we don't yet know what the end game is here. We don't know that from the United States, and we don't know that from the nation of Israel either. The goal was stated to be destruction of Iran's nuclear program.
Make no mistake about it, the end game is regime change.
Tonight, you have out of Iran statements from their atomic agency saying that this national industry, as they refer to it, will not be stopped, that you can't kill knowledge. There have been, of course, assassinations of nuclear scientists, as we know. We want to go now on the phone. We are joined by General Frank McKenzie, who was the combatant commander there in the Middle East for so many years. General McKenzie, I hope you can hear me now. I know you have literally gamed out this scenario for years when you were in the job. What are those U.S. military families? What are those soldiers and naval men? What are they bracing for tonight? What should we expect with the light of day?
To be with you tonight. I've worked on this plan for 15 years. It looks like a successful strike. As you noted, we'll know more in the hours and days ahead how successful it actually was.
He's worked on the plan for 15 years. That's right. This has been in the works for a very long time.
But what the Central Command commander right now is most concerned about is the possible Iranian response. What's it going to be? What are they going to do? And a lot of the thinking over the last few days, I'm sure, in the Department of Defense has been how to prepare for that inevitable Iranian response. And so we flowed forces in. We'll be ready for it. What we want to do is avoid a significant loss of American life that would then push us up the escalatory ladder. So we want to save the Iranians from themselves. We want to maintain balance in the region if we can. And that's what the CENTCOM commander is going to be working on right now. I would also note that Iran is gravely weakened as a result of their exchanges with Israel over the past few weeks, and in fact over the last year or so. So this is a very significant thing to bear in mind as we look at what the Iranians might do in response. The final thing I will say is this. The Iranians have held all the lower cards on the escalation ladder. But the simple fact is this. We hold all the higher cards on the escalation ladder, as does Israel, and the Iranians know that.
Well, General, to that point, I was speaking to an Iran analyst just a day ago who described this regime as homicidal but not suicidal, meaning they would restrain themselves from a head-to-head conflict with the United States. As you just pointed out, they are in such a weakened position because of the conflict over the past year or more. Does that had to have factored in to the calculation tonight? Do you think President Trump is being overconfident if he thinks this is one and done?
Now, of course, they want to avoid a head-to-head conflict with the United States, but in the event that Israel and Donald Trump push ahead with regime change, that's what they're going to have to do. They're not just going to lay down and surrender. You're looking at a very ugly war that's going to be a lot worse than Iraq. Iraq will have been considered a cakewalk compared to this. Now, what you're going to see is if the United States actually goes in with Israel and carries out regime change, you're going to see another bloody, decade-long war very comparable to the insurgency that you saw in Iraq. It's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to be America first in any way. There's no benefit for America to do this. This is all at the behest of Israel.
I think President Trump actually has unique and powerful credibility on this issue. He noted the strike on Qasem Soleimani, which I really believe was the correct action at the time. I was responsible for carrying out his orders on that strike and really began the arc of the trajectory that has taken us to this point where Iran is on their back foot and in very grave danger of even surviving as a state. So I think that's something to understand as we take a look at it. I think we should remember that the primary goal of Iranian statecraft is preservation of the regime. At different times before, this regime has chosen to step back when faced with the possibility of regime destruction. I think they're rapidly approaching that point right now, and I think this measurably moves us forward to that end.
We have learned here at CBS that there was some advance notice that was on passed to Iran about these strikes. But as I said, there wasn't full diplomatic notice being given to all of the allies in the region. You ran that operation in 2020 when, as you mentioned, Qasem Soleimani was taken off the battlefield. How much visibility does the United States have for what comes next? How good is our intelligence in terms of the threat picture?
So, Margaret, our intelligence is very good. Penetration of Iran by human sources and other sources is very good. We're going to have a good feel for what the Iranians are thinking. The other factor that's out there is much Iranian leadership is dead now. And the Iranians have, because of their corrupt system of promoting officers and keeping them in place, they don't have a good succession plan inside their military. So people go into a job and they stay 10, 12, 15 years while they're growing rich from that job. So those people are now dead, but they haven't groomed a successor. So that makes it very hard for the supreme leader to formulate decisions and to transmit those decisions to the Iranian military. And that will further complicate Iranian responses, I believe, in the days and weeks ahead.
Thank you, General. And just to clarify for our audience, as we were talking about the killings of top Iranian officials, many of them have been military leaders. We were showing you a picture there of the supreme leader, we were talking about Qasem Soleimani. We were talking about the supreme leader just now, showing you a picture of him. We do not know his whereabouts at this hour. He has actually not been seen in public for a few days now. He had this video address that we are showing you. But he is, at 86 years old, dealing with cancer, and all of our reporting is that he has been very hard to contact. In other words, the top levels of Iranian government aren't sure where their boss is. At this hour, we do not know his whereabouts. When we're talking about succession planning, that is the man, that is the main decision maker from which all things flow.
All right, so obviously, it's over. Donald Trump is no longer the non-interventionist president that he ran on, and now MAGA is split. So it's going to be the moment of truth in the next few days. Who has principles and who doesn't? Now, I want to get back to some of these Tucker Carlson clips because these are fantastic. Why does Ted Cruz almost melt down when Tucker brings up AIPAC? It's like he's hiding something very strange. Now, this, of course, is the funding that Ted Cruz gets from Israel to be a mouthpiece.
I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel...
From AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, There are folks online who are in the fever swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC...
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
It's
when was the last time AIPAC took a position that deviated from Prime Minister Netanyahu?
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC,
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets.
No.
I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not.
I love what he does there. He tries to distract and just being like, "Oh, well, if you want to do like a deep dive on AIPAC, no, I want to do a shallow dive. I want you to answer the question directly." Tucker's kind of a smarmy fuck, but he really is a good journalist.
Not. No. It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay. So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but It's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
it's not true.
No.
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC because AIPAC's not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if...
So I'm not mad about that. There are a million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including Israel.
But AIPAC are Americans. They're not Israelis.
Hold on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
Yeah, and why what you're saying is false.
Why aren't they registered as a foreign lobby?
Because they're not.
Quite clearly, they are a foreign lobby. I love how he gets Ted Cruz on the ropes here. And there's more of this to come here. Tucker Carlson to Ted Cruz. You ask me why I'm obsessed with Israel 3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, one of your main goals, which was to defend Israel, and I am the one who is obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. That does not make me an anti-Semite, and shame on you for suggesting otherwise.
Do you think that it's just interesting because what you're now describing in a very defensive way, I will say, is foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody. I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel, when we're talking about foreign countries...
It's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese, you're not talking about Japanese, you're not talking about the Brits, you're not talking about the French. The question, what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now. Senator,
you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking...
This is the poison pill that they always use. Israel just magically gets a get-out-of-jail-free card for all the atrocities and injustices they commit because they happen to be a Jewish state. I don't believe Tucker Carlson or anybody that criticizes what Israel is doing is being anti-Semitic. At a certain point, when you are carpet bombing civilian populations, hospitals, and bombing babies, at a certain point, maybe that has to be called out. And I don't care what race or ethnicity is doing it. It's wrong. There, I said it.
Why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have.
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but on my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews.
You said, I'm asking you.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Okay. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And I mean that.
Wow. He absolutely had him on the ropes there. It's just so transparent. Ted Cruz trying to say that any criticism of Israel makes you anti-Semitic. It's unbelievable and it's laughable. So this one is hilarious. Pay close attention to how Tel Aviv Ted scoffs at Tucker for suggesting Americans should have nice cities free from homeless people instead of sending all of our money abroad. This is such a great point, and this is the kind of non-interventionist spirit that Donald Trump ran on. This is why he won all 7 swing states, and this is why he absolutely shot himself in the foot tonight by bombing Iran at the behest of Israel.
Like, no, but I was accused of being, I think it's weird that you went to a Russian grocery store and said it was prosperous. No, my point is
it looked like a commercial. It looked like a commercial. Isn't this wonderful?
No, it was an argument against the efficacy of sanctions. Sanctions against Russia, which you casually and enthusiastically imposed, scoring a little moral victory every time, had no material effect that helped the United States. Russia is backstopped by China, and I recommend that you go there and see it. It is way nicer than Washington, D.C. Way nicer. To me, that's a tragedy. I was horrified and angry at my leaders, including you. It's like, I want to live in a country that's nice, with low food costs and no homeless people.
All right,
I don't understand why that's too much to ask.
So do
Instead, I get wars with Iran. No, I just want lower food costs. How's that?
So, look, it's a weird...
100%. When we have billions and billions and billions of dollars to fund these wars. Now, being a Canadian, obviously, it's a little bit of a different perspective. We don't dump quite as much money into this as Americans do. But holy shit, we have the same problems here. How much money did we spend in Ukraine, and how many Canadians died in emergency rooms this year because they couldn't get care in time, because they're waiting to see a doctor? Like, Tucker Carlson is completely on point here, and I just love the way he's calling these neocons out. And it's unfortunate for Donald Trump, but the base is splitting right now, and I'm absolutely loving watching people have principles, and I'm really liking it being exposed who has principles and who doesn't. That's what I'm trying to say.
Weird argument that you do often, which is, listen, things are crappy in America. Liberals have done bad things to America, so we shouldn't worry about any enemies around the world.
Republican senators.
Republicans
they don't care about us. They're focused on other countries.
You wrote that,
and our country is dying, and you don't care because you're focused on Iran or Putin.
So you believe that I don't care about America. I guess you believe Donald Trump doesn't either. Like nobody cares.
I believe that your focus is way too on other countries. It's way too focused outward. The money that you send abroad could be used here and should be.
What money that I send abroad, by the way, I emphatically agree with.
How much did you send to Ukraine? You don't even know.
I emphatically agree with.
Wow. Yeah, he exposes it all there. How much money do they spend on these foreign wars, sending them abroad while the country rots? Now, this big MAGA divide that's quite clearly coming, it just exposes who is America first and who isn't. Now, I think it's plainly obvious to me that Tucker Carlson is more on the side of America first because he is talking about actual problems that affect America. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to stick up for the super oppressive regime of Iran. I think that's obvious. And that's one ad hominem that these people will use on the non-interventionist narrative. Obviously, it's a tragedy that people in Iran live the way they do. I think it's quite obvious when you look at pictures of pre-1979 Iran. It actually looks like a pretty cool liberal place. You have women out not wearing burqas, going to nightclubs. It looks like almost a European society. And now it's super oppressive, and that sucks, and it's sad. But it doesn't seem evident to me that Americans should die for it. And I'm not even American, guys. I'm Canadian. But this concerns me too, because obviously if America gets into another disastrous war in the Middle East, Canada's going to be stuck funding it, helping fund it. And who knows, depending on the political situation, Canadians might get sent over there as well. And I certainly don't want to see that happen. So what else do we have here? I will never forget this Tucker-Ted Cruz exchange as long as I live. This is the good one.
I'm asking about your allegation and the Prime Minister of Israel's allegation that is
and let me be
that
clear,
Iran
I'm
is trying to
emphatically for
murder the
killing our enemies.
president.
Killing terrorists is a good thing. Killing people who are trying to murder Americans is a good thing. Because if you're America first, you want to protect America. And so killing Osama bin Laden was a fantastic
But you don't
day
really
for the
believe
world.
that they're trying to murder Trump, or you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Then why aren't you calling for military action against Tehran right now?
Because they're not very effective. In terms of hitmen, their hitmen are not very effective. I do think...
So they're hitmen, but not the bad kind, the efficient kind?
No,
what are you
just
saying?
They're a weak country who is on its knees, and I think we need to...
Then why are we...
Now, again, this is an old clip. This is from a couple of days ago, but I bet you Ted Cruz is celebrating tonight.
So afraid of them? Why are they the biggest threat if they're a weak country that's on its knees?
Because they're trying...
I'm trying to keep track.
They're trying to develop... Be a little less snarky.
I know, you're right. That is a problem that I have. I'm sorry. I'm asking about your allegation.
I don't think Tucker Carlson is capable of being less snarky. And, well, you know what? That's what people seem to really like about him, myself included. So let's see what else we got here. Okay, this one is good. This is a supercut of Donald Trump promising to be a non-interventionist and completely 180 degrees from what we saw today. Let's check it out.
Hillary Clinton, during one of the debates, she said, look at him, look at him. He's a warmonger. She's the one that always wanted war. It's the strangest people want war. Crooked Hillary Clinton said, look at him. He's going to take us into wars. I said, no.
And this is such a good point and such a good segue here, because I wonder what Hillary Clinton's going to think of all this, right, guys? Donald Trump's foreign policy tonight is just in line with what Hillary Clinton wanted. Like, Tulsi Gabbard called out Hillary Clinton for lying about Iran and their nuclear capabilities. In fact, just a couple of months ago, Tulsi Gabbard specifically stated that Iran is not close to a nuclear weapon. And in fact, Israel has been saying that Iran is weeks away from a nuclear bomb for 30 years. Basically, since I was a small child, Iran has been saying this. And now Tulsi Gabbard has completely walked it back because she doesn't want to lose her job. It would be a career ender for her. Well, at the end of this Trump administration, her career will be over as well. Sad to watch.
Instead of never-ending wars, we are forging peace in the Middle East. I want to see peace in the Middle East and elsewhere. We can't have a world war, and we're closer to World War III today than we've ever been at any time in our history. And I'm the only candidate who can make you this promise. I will prevent World War III. I'll prevent it. I will prevent World War III. You have World War III is on the cusp. I will prevent, 100% prevent World War III. You're going to end up in World War III. You will not have World War III. I will prevent World War III. I will prevent World War III. We want to have peace. We want to have peace on Earth. All over. All over. We're bombing the Middle East again. Now we're going back into the Middle East. We're bombing the hell out of the Middle East, and it's having no impact.
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said it's very late. You know? I said it's very late to be talking. We should have never gone in there a long time ago, spent trillions of dollars and created so much death.
Interesting, he's standing across from Netanyahu there. Well, he's taken a completely different position on that now, hasn't he? Anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have to report on the situation tonight. Unless something has developed here, let's...
response. Now, how significant their reprisals will be is something the intelligence and law enforcement communities are likely looking into.
They are just replaying the same speech. All right, guys, that's going to do it for my stream tonight. Thank you to the few of you that popped in to check it out. But, yeah, there's a reason why I don't typically do these things live. I prefer to research a topic and record an episode on it. But, of course, tonight, I saw that President Trump was going to be making a speech on this. I saw his tweet, and I just couldn't believe he did what he did. It's very disappointing, and... yeah, I've got a little bit of egg on my face for rooting for him during the last election because this was pretty much all I wanted to see out of the American election, was who was going to be a better option for peace. Now, you had Kamala Harris, obviously, which was just a continuation of the Biden regime, and Joe Biden had a lot of hawkish rhetoric on Russia and Ukraine. By the end of it, he was publicly saying, along with Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau, that Ukraine should use long-range missiles to strike inside of Russia, which would be a pretty big escalation to the war. Now, that was Joe Biden, that was Kamala Harris, and, you know, who really knows who was behind those people? They were obviously just puppets for the deep state. You know, obviously, Joe Biden, by the end of it, was signing all of his orders with AutoPen. So who really knows who was writing those checks, so to speak? So Donald Trump, to me, represented a little bit of hope that maybe there would be a little bit of peace on the world stage. And unfortunately, tonight, that's been shattered. So I have a little bit of egg on my face there. I will maintain that if I could go back in time, I probably still would have supported him over, you know, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's really, really hawkish rhetoric on Ukraine and Russia. But I digress. Now, people on the left will, of course, say, oh, well, this is like a leopards ate my face kind of moment for people that supported Trump, foolishly thinking that he would be a non-interventionist. And fair enough, I guess. But it is what it is. And let's just hope that this situation de-escalates. But given tonight's events, I'm not so optimistic about that. I'll be keeping my eye closely on which one of Donald Trump's supporters criticize him for this, and which ones twist themselves into pretzels to somehow justify going to war with yet another country in the Middle East is somehow in line with being a non-interventionist. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. Thanks to the few of you again who tuned in live, but yeah, keep your eye on the channel, and if you're watching this after the fact and if you're not subscribed, check out some of my other stuff and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.